keep seeing these TikToks where girls are saying, I can't stand seeing a pretty girl with an ugly guy. But the real question is, why does that bother you? Is it because the beautiful man you're hooking up with is treating you horribly and you know she's probably treated 10 times better because she doesn't value appearance? Is that why it bugs you? Because while you picked looks, you settled on the personality. But she decided to wake up every day and get treated like a queen, and then she fell more and more in love with him, and now she thinks he's perfect. Also, I'm obsessed with my boyfriend. I think he's the hottest person in the world, so don't twist my words on this one, but I will be damned if I was to be with a guy who is out of my league. If I'm walking down the street and people are like, oof, why is he with her? He could do so much better. Hell no, I'm the star of the show. We look good together, we're in each other.
Oh man, it's like she almost got me at the beginning. She almost got me before I went right back deep into the bullshit, okay? So tons of cope once again, okay? So it's always painting these fantasy hypotheticals. You know, they love coming in here and painting these absolute fantasy-based hypotheticals that really don't occur in reality that often, okay? So just because a guy is ugly, notice how she immediately assumes it's because he must be a nice guy and treating her well, versus the guy that's attractive must be a bad guy because he's attractive and therefore he probably treats the girl poorly, right? I mean, that's such an amazing assumption. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, this scenario exists. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist, right? But when it comes to attractiveness of guys, it's always like a perceived thing. It's not necessarily a real objective measure. Also notice once again, right, for her, it's all about being the star of the show, meaning she's obsessed with, I guess you could argue, power. But let's see how she defines star of the show, if she even goes into that.
There's league, I'm obsessed with it, but for him to be downgrading to be with me, absolutely not. You get what you think you deserve comes from how a person treats you, not how a person looks on the outside. That adds no value to you.
I mean, look, if we're going to get into the spiritual side of things, I don't necessarily disagree with this. I just think that to dumb it down like this is obviously, it's cope to a degree, right? A lot of girls will say these things. They'll come on social media and they'll say these things. Then if you look at their actual life and how they play it, it's not necessarily like this an overwhelming amount of the times. So sure, it sounds good. Yeah. I mean, only like somebody for who they are, not what they look like. I mean, sure, but it's not that simple. We have to look at everything holistically, right? The person has to be a package, right? It has to be, that's one component. How they look and how you feel about them is another component that can't be dismissed, right? So essentially they have to sort of fulfill all these different categories. If a person feels like they're settling, right, it's very difficult for them to maintain that long term unless they're extremely disciplined, right? But look, human nature is not about discipline, it's about feelings, right? So you want to make sure that those feelings are accounted for. If you like my content, you want to support me, make sure to check out my Patreon in the description below. I have tons of private content there and you get to interact directly with me.